Hi, my name is Rosalie Tenseth. I'm an actress and a filmmaker, and today we're going to offer up some great auditioning self-tape tips. I highly recommend that you watch our earlier free video, which is called the self-tape equipment setup, because it'll show you how we got this wonderful lighting, this non-distracting background, so that when somebody watches your self-tape, they can concentrate on just you. Some of the things we're going to cover today is going to be slates, eyelines, some little tricks about memorization, and tons more information that will help you make your self-tape really rock.
Hey, I'm Angus.
And Angus has been acting since how old?
4.
Age of 4. All right, and he's going to show us a sample slate. First of all, Angus, what is a slate?
It's when you introduce yourself to your producers or directors.
That's right. Can you give us a sample slate?
Okay. Hey, I'm Angus Costello, and I'm with Agency 9, and I am 4'10".
And then I scan all the way down his body and back up. Why do they want to see that, Angus?
Because they want to see your body mass, you want to see how tall you are, and also they want to see your personality in the entire slate.
That's true. I'll talk a little bit more about personality in the slate. Angus is going to show you a slate that I see a lot for auditions. Go ahead, Angus.
Okay. Hi, I'm Angus Costello, and I'm 9 years old, and I'm 4'10".
Or sometimes I'll see this.
Hi, I'm Angus Costello, and I'm 9 years old, and I'm with Agency 9, and I'm 4'10".
And I'll do the body scan again. But you can see that there's a difference in his personality from the one slate to this slate. However, that doesn't mean that if your kid is not high energy, they shouldn't be authentic. They just need to authentically be themselves in that slate so they get an idea of their personality. So they are going through these videotapes and trying to find personalities that are really telling they have the right type, they are the right brand, they are the right character for the role. And so they look at that slate, and if that slate doesn't really show who you are to know whether or not you're right for the role, they don't go further in the tape because they have so many hundreds and sometimes thousands of tapes to look at. So you want to make sure that you have your true, authentic personality in that slate, but don't necessarily force a personality that is not yours. That's what's very important. We just need to see you, authentically you, in that slate. You see how I have Angus framed up in the camera? He is right in the center, pretty much. He could be a little left or he could be a little right. Right? Doesn't matter. But what we don't want is we do not want him too close, and we definitely don't want him this far away or to have that much head space. Do you see how much head space there is? Or this. It depends on the action of the scene, though, sometimes. Like if you know he's going to be moving around more, that's different. And you want to make sure he'd be within the frame. But by and large, your best framing is to get rid of that headroom, have a little bit of shoulder, and now he is framed beautifully so that you can really see his face. In the setup equipment video, we also talked about having your camera be horizontal versus vertical. Otherwise, this is what happens. You always want your camera to be in a horizontal position because it looks like a television set. Eyeline is very important because you don't want to do a direct address, look straight into the camera, Angus, unless it is called for. You usually always want to have your focus just to the left of the camera, just to the right of the camera. So that doesn't mean you're not always going to be looking exactly to the right or the left of the camera because your character may be thinking and needs to like look for it. Or they may have an emotional time and they may be looking down for a little bit. So one of the other things that a reader can do to make your job very easy as the auditioner is to make sure to sit just to the right or just to the left of the camera and keep their eye line on the same level as you. So if they're standing, do you see the problem? And if they're lower than you, do you see the problem? But if they're right to the camera right or right to camera left, it makes it very easy for the person who is watching your audition to be able to see what's going on in the character's mind. Let's talk about memorization. I would say about 80% of casting directors will say to you, yes, you should have the lines memorized. And then there's another faction that'll say you don't have to have them memorized, but you really have to be completely familiar with them. And let me explain why that is. Because let's say that this is a huge monologue that I have that I should have memorized. If I'm doing my lines and I have to keep looking down and then looking back up and then looking back down to be like, Bob, I need to talk to you. You're the most sensible bunny I know. If I have to keep coming down and up, now I could also, this is another way to do it, is to hold my lines up a little bit more like this and be, Bob, I need to talk to you. I mean, you're the most sensible bunny that I know. Here's the thing. I lost the baby ducklings. But can you see that every time my eyes go to the script, how you become just a little bit disengaged with me, and it takes you out of just seeing me as the character? So one of the things that I do is I will sometimes put the lines, like when Angus is doing an audition, if it's a huge monologue like this and it's a lot of lines and we don't have much time to get the taping done, I'll tape it up. I'll either put it on a string in front of him so that it'll be on the exact eye line, or I have a music stand that I can put the lines on and he can see it from that distance. Or a little trick, this is a little trick. If the reader has, their lines on this side and then you tape the lines together and the reader is at that eye line anyway, you can be kind of, if you need the line, you can find it, you can look at it. But note, if I had it down here, if my lines were down here and I have to go back and forth like this, can you see how that's distracting and it takes you out of the moment? And what you want to subliminally do is show everybody that is going to look at that audition tape that you are ready. It should really, because you have enough time with self-tapes, your audition should look like the first take on set. And I know that seems unreasonable in some respects because it's supposed to be an audition, but the truth of the matter is, casting directors will tell you that the people who get brought in from self-tapes are the people who look like it is their first take on set. And that's what they expect out of professional actors. They expect you to be able to get lines like this and have it memorized the next day. So if you can't do it for your self-tape, what is that saying to the buyer, either the casting director or the producer or to the director? Is it saying that if you get lines like this, you're not going to have them memorized by the next day on set? Of course, every audition is going to be a little bit different. And sometimes you have absolutely no preparation and you're told to do a self-tape. But most of the time you have a week to 2 days to be able to get that ready. And you should be able to memorize that quickly. Get the lines off book so that you can be literally engaged with that reader and completely be in the moment with whatever the scene is and be like, Bob, I don't know what happened to the bunnies. I looked everywhere and I can't find them. I don't know what happened. See the difference of being able to do that and going, Bob, I looked everywhere for the bunnies, but I don't know where they are. I see the difference. Being able to go to find your line versus just being totally engaged and knowing your lines. So to memorize or not to memorize, that's up to you. Is it going to be the thing that prevents you from getting the job? I don't know, from any given job. But if you don't memorize it, I can guarantee you somebody else will, and they'll be more engaged and prepared in the audition. The audition is about the person who's doing the audition. So whoever your reader is, just make sure that they're very unobtrusive so that they are not taking away or distracting in any way from the actual audition. For example, I'm making sure that I'm right to one side of the camera so that Angus's eye line is lined up with me, and I'm going to give him my line. I'm going to talk too loud and I'm going to overact. I told you, you were not supposed to talk to somebody like that.
He said I was a thief, but I didn't do anything.
Okay, now I'm going to do it again and be nice and soft and not distracting. I told you never to speak to somebody like that.
He said I was a thief, but I didn't do anything.
What do you do if you don't have a reader with you? This applies to people who are adults. Obviously, if you're a child, your parent can at least be there to be the reader for you. But you can actually record friends doing the other lines and then insert it in post, like in your editing software. I've done that a couple of times where I've asked somebody else to read the lines, or there are apps, and I'll list some here, that are available that you could record the lines on those apps and then use that sound later. Or you could just record yourself doing it in your own voice. And some of those apps will allow you to take the voice and move it up in pitch or down in pitch just for the variety. There is nothing stopping you but you and your imagination and your creativity when it comes to being able to do the self-tape yourself. I'm self-taping myself right now. So just use your creativity and I know you'll be able to do it. All you have to worry about when it comes to what you're wearing is that you don't blend into the background, that it's a color that makes your skin tone look genuinely what your skin tone actually looks like in person. And beyond that, don't get really hung up on it. Unless a character is so specific and your agent or the breakdown has told you specifically dress like this, you just need to wear something that gives the impression of that character, but you don't necessarily have to dress exactly like it. Now I say that, and then if it says in the breakdown or your manager says, make sure you're dressed like that, then yes, really listen to those instructions and actually do it. But otherwise, just pick a good color, no distracting logos, no busy patterns. Remember, we're still just trying to look at who you are. So anything that distracts from that is something you want to avoid. So once you have your slate and you have your audition tape, you can take those and you can upload them to either Actors Access or however they've asked you to deliver it. Sometimes they want you to put it into a Dropbox and send them the link. Sometimes, but not as often anymore, they'll ask you to put it up on a unlisted YouTube channel. But the reason they don't want you to do that as much is because just for your information, unlisted YouTube channels, there are ways to be able to see those unlisted videos. And because this information, these scripts are so proprietary and they don't want them leaked ahead of time, they would prefer not to have it be on a YouTube unlisted channel. So they prefer the delivery normally via Dropbox. And you can get a free account on Dropbox, put it in a folder, and then there's a way to send a link to the auditioners. But if you're doing it through Actors Access, they usually have a way to be able to upload your videotapes, and they try to make it as easy as possible for parents who may be newer to the business and are not editing, which you could edit it really cool in iMovie very easily, or I use Final Cut, but if you have iMovie or if you're on a PC, there are other editing softwares, and you can put the slate on first and then the actual audition. And what I like to do is I like to put a title card at the front and the back that's very easy for them to be able to contact you. Contact information, we do it through our reps. We say who to call or how to email in order to get a hold of you. But you don't have to do it that way. It doesn't have to be complicated, especially on Actors Access. They'll usually allow you to upload the slate by itself and then upload the actual audition tape by itself. There are companies that will do self-tapes for you, especially in the bigger cities. They are set up to do that. In fact, at the union, at the Screen Actors Guild offices, they do have the ability to be able to do your self-tapes there if you schedule an appointment. But, you know, sometimes you get an email saying, can you do this self-tape overnight? You don't have time to go set up and pay for a place to do the self-tape for you. So the more practice you can get in now, when it doesn't matter, the better prepared you're going to be when you actually do have a self-tape that would be really wonderful to be able to get an appointment out of. So I recommend you just start practicing, even if you don't have setups like this, whatever, you know, get a sheet, use lights that you have in the house, and just start practicing. Nobody is not going to hire you because everything didn't look perfect. They are still looking for the perfect person, the perfect actor to fit a particular character no matter what. So you don't want to get hung up on, oh, do I have the lighting perfect? Oh, do I have the right color background? Who cares? Just get in a non-distracting environment. If you are really right for that role, it is not going to matter if some of these technical details are not perfect. There's no such thing as perfection anyway. You just want to do your best to represent your character in a way that is going to get their attention. Really making smart choices, smart informed choices about the character, and letting you bleed through all of those informed choices and letting them see who you are. And that's what's going to end up booking you the role. Not the perfect lights, not the perfect background, you making informed choices about the character and being something that they find very interesting that they want to bring in to see in person. If you have any other questions about self-taping, I'd be happy to answer them. Just get a hold of us here. So happy auditioning, everybody. I hope you all break legs.